CW here. I want to talk to you a little bit today about this old handgun. This is Arcadia Machine and Tool 22 Magnum AutoMAG II, and it's a pretty cool gun. It was my first semi-automatic 22 Magnum, and it's was manufactured from the late 80s to the late 90s. I'm kind of questioning that because I don't know if it was dropped, or I know Arcadia Machine and Tool, AMT, went out of business or stopped producing, whatever they did. They had a number of different guns, pretty neat guns, and they had a number of AutoMags. They had the big one that everybody knows from the Dirty Harry movies, but then they had an AutoMAG 5 and an AutoMAG 3 that were closer to this one. One was a 30 carbine and one was a 45 automatic, not 45 ACP, 45 Magnum automatic. And there were some pretty neat guns. I never got to shoot one of those, but I shot a 30 carbine a few times, and just like the 22 Magnum, they're wicked loud. Any long cartridge in a handgun, long straight cartridge, tends to be really loud. Anyway, so this one here was this is my second pistol. It's got a very unique action. It kind of resembles a 1911, and it does to a degree take down some of the parts. Are very similar to a 1911. It carries and shoots like a 1911. Grip angle, magazine, a lot of the stuff is very 1911-esque. It has millet adjustable sights on it, which were very good. I believe they dropped them in the early 90s. They were only on there for 5 or 6 years, and then they went to a different sighting system. These are 9-round magazines, so 10 rounds total. There was I believe there was 3 guns in the AutoMAG II. There was a compact that I'm even going to say had a couple less rounds. Maybe it was a 7-round mag, because it was a little shorter through the grip. And I think it was a 3 3/4 inch barrel. Then they had the 4.5, maybe 4 1/4. I don't know if it was really commander length, but it was 4 3/4 maybe. It was 4 and something. And then this was the 6 inch. And I've had 3, so this is actually the third one I've had total. This is the second 6 incher. I bought my first one shortly after they came out, probably early 90s, 89 or 90, and it was a really good shooter. It's got a barrel with some ports in it, internal, and what it worked kind of like a gas system does, kinda. There's a series of holes in the chamber where the cartridge is, and then there's some holes down the barrel a short distance, and they allowed the gases that push the bullet out of the barrel to enter the holes in the barrel and then come back and kind of help float the empty case, the empty brass case, copper brass case, help float it out of the chamber. So if you understand how a firearm works, the powder is ignited and it creates a gas. It's a rapidly expanding gas that pushes the bullet out of the barrel, and it expands so rapidly that it seals off in the chamber with the brass case, which is why we use brass cases, because they're malleable and they have a certain amount of elasticity, and they will seal the chamber and not let gases come back that direction and allow all the pressures to go forward. So in a locked breech gun, which this is not, it's a blowback. In a locked breech gun, the barrel stays locked until the pressures drop, and then the action can function. In a style like this one, which is a non-locked breech, it's just spring pressure, and it's the recoil of the gun that it's recoil operated. It's the recoil of the gun that pushes the slide back. So the gases don't really serve any purpose. Well, this is not a locked breech, but it is gas operated to a extent. And part of the reason, or part of that function, they denoted the use or disallowed the use of certain ammunition because the pressures were high or the casings were such that they could cause problems. And I actually had that happen to me with my first gun. The pressures were a little bit high, or the cartridge was wrong, or it was misloaded, or who knows what, but it actually blew holes in the case, effectively locking it in the chamber. So you couldn't load anymore. You couldn't. The gun was locked up. The slide wouldn't come back. Nothing would work. And I was able to get it open and out, but it wouldn't function anymore. So something must have got in those gas ports, or something happened with the gun. And at that time that it happened, AMT was out of business, so I couldn't return it to the factory to get it repaired. So we junked the gun. I sold it to my gunsmith for parts, and he found me another one. He found me a 3 3/4 inch, the mid-size. And where my first one was nice to shoot, it was fairly accurate, it was nice to carry, this one was it didn't shoot very accurately, and it didn't shoot very well. It did carry nice. It was a nice size. I really like the Commander size, but it didn't float my boat. So I sold that one off. And then I went a whole lot of years without one. And then maybe 5 or 6 years ago, this one came along from a friend of a friend. One of my buddies sold it to another one of my buddies because he couldn't get it to function. He or somebody had taken it apart and he couldn't get it back together. It's really not tricky, but I guess it can be to some people. So my buddy had it for a bunch of years and got it back together, but he couldn't make it function. So it was basically a single shot repeater. So he sold it to me, and I fiddled with it, and I found a problem right away in the recoil system, the spring under the barrel, and I was able to correct that and then shoot the gun, and it shoots and cycles. It works fine. So I got a AMT AutoMAG in 6-inch again, and it's really nice to carry. It's very thin. It points like a 45. It handles like a 45. As you can see, it's got a slide mounted safety lever, and no grip safety. The magazine release is European style. It's at the bottom of the grip down here, and you kind of push it backwards and drop the magazine out. Metal magazines, and it was a pretty good gun. AMT had their faults and had their haters. They were one of the first stainless steel gun manufacturers, and they didn't quite have it down, and they had some galling problems where the stainless steel wasn't quite correct, or there's a bunch of different stainless steels, and it would gall. It would stick together. It wouldn't slide nicely. It wouldn't play well together, and it would grab, and it's called galling. The metals, instead of sliding back and forth, they kind of grab and smear and stick together. And some 45 AMTs had that problem. Anyway, this one doesn't have that problem. And I just wanted to show it to you because you don't get to see it very often. It's not something that regularly comes around, and I thought you might find it interesting. So let's look at it here a little bit. I don't need to make this a crazy long video. I just wanted to set it up here so you can get a good look at it. Let's turn it around and look at the other side. Extractor in the slide, pinned in. Slide serrations in the back, open top on the barrel, keep the slide light. I did have a set of Pachmayr grips on my other one, but Pachmayr's gone and you don't find these anymore. So this one's got the factory grips on it, and made in USA, Irwindale, California. And the slide won't stay back without the magazine in, and we've got no magazine in it, so I have to manipulate it that way. But solid guide rod, barrel bushing like a 45. Nice barrel. Takedown is similar to a 1911. Trigger is what you'd expect. It's not great, it's not awful. Safety is a rolling block, so it doesn't affect the action inside. It just blocks the firing pin. You can see the little piece of steel roll up there underneath. It doesn't allow the firing pin to depress, but the hammer will still drop. So it kind of freaks some people out, but it wouldn't have fired because it blocks the firing pin from being depressed. Like I said, really good sights. I can't really give you a sight picture here. Maybe a crooked I can. There you go. Okay. So a nice blaze orange front, white outline rear, fully adjustable. It's a pretty nice sight picture. And fairly accurate. But there we go. There is the AMT AutoMAG II 22 Magnum pistol from AMT. I haven't checked this serial number to see when this one was made. It's not a very big number. What is it? It's 20,000. Yeah, 20,000. So I'd have to look it up to see when it was made, but it's probably an earlier one. Feels nice in the hand. I really like the gun. So I wanted to show it to you because I figured that it's probably one that you've read about if you're interested in 22 Magnums, but it's probably also one that you have not seen. There we go. The AMT 22 mag 6-inch handgun. God bless everybody. CW out.